response to farmers' protests, the European Commission has unveiled a new vision for agriculture and food, rolling back some controversial plans from the previous administration, such as halving pesticide use by 2030. For the Europe conversation, we spoke to Agriculture Commissioner Christophe Hansen about this shift, but also about an EU-Mercosur trade deal and what it means for the agricultural sector, a potential EU membership of Ukraine. Commissioner Hansen, the EU has a new vision for agriculture and food. If you had to summarize this new vision in a bunch of punchy lines, what would you pick?
I think it's very important that this vision gives, again, hope and predictability to the farming sector, because they feel uncertain, therefore they don't invest sufficiently, and therefore we have too little young people starting the job. So this is very important, to give this predictability and hope and certainty for planification of a business. This is what the vision is about.
If you think to how European farmers look like in 2040, what you imagine?
Well, first of all, it is very important to say that the farmers are part of the solution and not of the problem, and that is exactly where they belong, because they are as well the first victims, for example, of climate change, of droughts, of floods, but they are as well our best line of defense, and that is there where we need to get them with incentives, bring them on board to achieve common targets. That is what it is about, and I think we have as well to work again way more on the productivity of the farms, so they need to spend less time with paperwork, spend more time on their fields, out with their animals. I have already put on the table 2 proposals to strengthen their position in the food value chain, so that they get fairer revenue as well for their high-quality products.
And of course, when we talk about farmers' income, our first thought goes to common agricultural policy. There was an attempt in the past to push this fairer distribution, bringing more money to small farmers rather than large farmers. Why the EU action will work, according to you, this time in the future common agricultural?
Well, I think we are in a very different situation here. We have now started a strategic dialogue that has delivered a report, and this strategic dialogue that has clearly stated that it wants the subsidies, the money, to go more targeted where it is most needed. Where is it most needed? I think it is most needed when it comes, for example, to young farmers, when it comes, for example, to smaller farms and family farms, because if you have a farm with 5 hectares, you will need more than you will need, for example, when you have 5,000 hectares, because you have an economy of scale therein as well.
Still, we're talking about a big part of the EU budget going to farmers, and farmers on the street are still hungry. What's your take on this?
Well, we need to address what they put on the table as well when they took it to the streets. And it was exactly 1 year ago when here in Brussels the streets were crowded with tractors and angry farmers. And they have 3 main requests. One is fairer prices for their products. That we have, I mentioned already, we are addressing this very concretely now with the 2 proposals on the table. The second one, and the very important one, is the huge amount of paperwork that they have to do, not only under the common agriculture policy, but as well in other political sectors. Then a third point that our farming community made was exactly as well on the reciprocity and the fair standards when it comes to production, because we are forbidding plant protection products in the European Union for good reasons, for human health reasons, but as well for environmental reasons.
Coming back to the future of the common agricultural policy, there's the elephant in the room that is Ukraine, actually, a future membership of Ukraine. We're talking about a giant agricultural powerhouse. Do you think that the discussion will already trying to address this aspect of the future membership of Ukraine?
My mission letter clearly states that I have to prepare as well the common agriculture policy to future enlargement, not necessarily only for Ukraine, but as well for other new member states to be welcomed. This I have to take it very seriously, of course, and you say rightly so. We have in the Ukraine farms that are have 600,000 hectares. That is the equivalent of twice the production of Luxembourg, for example, the member state where I'm coming from. So this needs to be taken very seriously. But I think the important step now to take first is to go into a deep and comprehensive free trade agreement with Ukraine, which is on the table and which has to be concluded.
First the FTA and then...
Exactly, because this will be the first phase of alignments of production standards that is very important, and it is more stable than the current autonomous trade measures that we are living in that have disrupted and caused a lot of problems, especially...
That raised some eyebrows in some countries like Poland and France.
Exactly, and this needs to be addressed, and I'm very confident that we can achieve this first step of getting closer together before the enlargement. But of course this will be a challenge, but we have as well to see enlargement as a potential, not only as a challenge but as well as an opportunity, because we will become a global player even more in agriculture, and we have now to adapt standards of production of
but also
animals.
from a geopolitical perspective.
Exactly, because this could make us less dependent on imports from South America, from the US, for example, and this is something where it's very important to get.
So you expect some challenges, but it's a good thing in the end.
It's challenges and opportunities. It's like with a wedding, there are always challenges and you have to make concessions, but you get as well advantages, and that is a decision that we have to take jointly.
And still on trade, Mercosur agreement remains unpopular among farmers. You actually have a positive view on the Mercosur. How you can convince farmers to be on board when it comes to this trade agreement?
Well, first of all, you mentioned the US right now. We have offensive sectors when it comes to agriculture, and we have sensitive sectors. Offensive sectors are, for example, our wines, spirits, dairy products. We have many GIs, geographical indications, in the European Union: Parmigiano Reggiano, Roquefort, Comté. Those are really our export hammers, to say so. And currently, they are counterfeited in third countries. So you go to South America, you see the Parmigiano Reggiano, and you see the Queso Tipo Parmigiano. With such an agreement, we will protect our GIs, and the copy will not be there. Our product will become more affordable, and we will sell more. And this is the case for the US, but it is as well the case for the Mercosur countries. So if the United States would decide to target such products, well, we would have alternative ways to sell our products and give them more stability. And then, of course, we have sensitive sectors, and they are well known. It's poultry, it's sugar, it's also beef. And therefore, the mandate that is given to the Commission to negotiate such an agreement had as well foreseen to have safeguard clauses. And this time around, we have for the first time in such an agreement as well safeguard clauses in the so-called tariff rate quotas.
So a compensation fund that has been mentioned. Do you think that this package, from what you're collecting on the ground, is changing a bit the perspective of farmers? Are you collecting some feedback of farmers that are changing their mind when it comes to Mercosur?
I think when you talk to the farmers directly and express this is something that they are really understanding as well, because a lot of people are saying black and white, yes or no. This is not the way forward, because I think we are heavily depending as well. We're just speaking about protein crops. We are heavily importing them, but we need to do our homework to get our farming community more competitive. And I just said the three main points that we need to address. Simplification, because when the farmer can work more outside, he will be more competitive. We need better prices for the products.
And coming back to the vision, how this differs from the previous agri-food policy, the farm-to-fork strategy, because it seems that there's still some part focusing on environmental aspects, but maybe it's not the major focus.
The farmers are the first victims of climate change, and they are our best defense line against climate change, for example. And what is very important is that we focus on the transposition on the field, that new technologies get out there that are able to resist better to water scarcity, that are able to use less pesticides, for example. So this is something that is very crucial. It is important that we encourage them rather with incentives to achieve goals, rather than to say just from a top down, this is the number, and we exactly see what happened with those numbers when it goes to the co-legislative process. It is like a big auction, who bids more for on percentage the sustainable use of pesticides.
Yeah, you're mentioning this.
That was the example. It didn't work out, and now we have no progress at all.
But still, it's off the table.
It is off the table, exactly, so no progress at all. And I believe with this process where we take the farmers on board and we take the civil society on board, in the European Board on Agriculture and Food, we determine there and discuss about solutions that are applicable and effective on the ground to achieve those targets.
And our last question, the vision still acknowledges that some key topics in the agriculture debate in Europe are perceived as contentious. There was the structured dialogue. Do you think that this is enough to bring together all the stakeholders when it comes to a very polarizing agri-food debate?
I think it is a very helpful tool, and I have to congratulate Commission President von der Leyen that she took that initiative of that strategic dialogue. I think this is a very important one, and that will be able to deal with questions that are in principle or have been very polarizing. They will contribute to depolarize them, find solutions, as I said, and this will be key as well to be more effective and target-orientated. My intention at least is to be in the first year at least in all the member states present and be as well not only in meeting rooms but be as well on the farms, meeting the farmers, and that is what I have already done in these first 100 days quite intensively. My next visit will be in Spain, where I will as well see the devastated region of Valencia. That will be very important as well to show our presence there, understand what is needed, and help as well the farming community to adapt to changing conditions. And this will be very key as well to get this knowledge in to design a next common agriculture policy that will be coming up and make it really adaptable and flexible to the very differences that we have in territories. The very differences even in member states can be very different from one region to another and even from one farm to another.
Thank you, Commissioner Hansen.
Thank you very much.